Pocahontas. I'm glad to be here. It's 70 degrees, it's sunny, and we're in West Tennessee. What else could we ask for? So thank you for allowing me to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to serve Grand Junction, Salisbury, most of Middleton, parts of Middleton. I think Representative Shaw and I can determine what's most apart between us. But a good portion of Middleton, Pocahontas, of Hardeman County. I represent all of Fayette County, all of McNairy County, and basically the southern part of Hardeman County that is below Highway 57. So thank you all for letting me be here today, and look forward to talking to each one of you.
Go ahead, Representative Shaw.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, or should I say good evening, everybody. Thank you all for having us again. I want to kind of open this morning the way I did in Jackson, and that is to tell you all that I'm truly honored to be your representative. It really means a lot to me, and I want to thank you all so much for having that confidence in me and allowing me to be your representative. And I told them one of the reasons being is because when you take this job, you become an expert and a jackleg at the same time on every issue there is. You learn how to make whiskey from whiskey still. You learn how to take care of people who are sick with health care. You learn how to do business. You learn about education. Whether you agree with it all or not, you learn in and everything. So I have found out that I know something about everything. And what I don't have the answer to, I know somebody that has the answer. So because of that, I really do appreciate you all having me to be your rep, and I enjoy it every day. I enjoy what I do. I never let the circumstances of the day touch the day. All days are good days. Sometimes circumstances are not good, but the days are. And I will tell you my comments, and we be ready to answer questions along with my colleagues, Senator Gresham and Representative Rich. This year, a lot of reform is going on in government. And reform sometimes changes, and you probably heard me say this before, frightens people. Even good changes, when you change something, it's just frightening. You know, and normally you get the worst of it first before you get the best of it. But this has been a year of reform in education and workers' comp, and the list goes on and on. And what I want to do today is to try to answer the questions that you'll have about whatever issues that you have the best I can. I will tell you that I serve on finance on the main committee. Anything that costs money comes through finance, but some things I don't get to see until we get to the floor. I do serve on state government as well, and we deal with a lot of issues that have to do with state government and then local government, which has been, the committee was split this year. Everybody that serves on local government has to do with stuff that you all do at this level. But thank you for allowing me to serve, and I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you? Spring is in the air, isn't it? You can feel it. It's just around the corner. It's wonderful. It has been a really, really busy week in Nashville this past week. And I can tell you that I'm probably about brain dead at the end of the week. This past week, the Senate Education Committee had a 4-hour session. We started at 3 o'clock and got out about 7:30, quarter to 8. And really, I can't tell you that committee is so engaged. There's not any one of any of those 9 people on there that is sitting there falling asleep in committee. They are totally engaged in what we do, and I'm so proud of them. I'm also a member of the Commerce and Labor Committee, as well as Environment and Agriculture. So I can tell you, because what our speakers have given us a mid-April deadline to get our work done. Everybody is working very, very hard to get that done. We've had some real challenges this week. We've got a scandal in UT right now, and that we're dealing with, and some very interesting bills that have been coming through the committee. So there's all kinds of challenges. But it is always good to be back home on a Friday morning to see everybody here and that if you feed them, they will come. So I am really happy to see this group. Monroe and a crowd came up, I guess maybe a week before last, and we had a real good visit. So the county farm bureaus came up this week, so we had a good visit with them. So it's really been busy on the Hill. If you've ever been there, and if you haven't, it's a real challenge, especially during the springtime, when all the organizations come up and have their day on the Hill. It gets a little crowded and a little noisy, but it is pure joy to see all those people in their halls, in their building, in their capital. This is the people's house, and they are there as part of it. So it's been busy and hectic and challenging, rewarding and frustrating, and I'm so happy to be back home on a Friday. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to be open to questions at your convenience.
And Rob, let me say, I had a shadow yesterday. I forgot to mention it, sitting right here. Amelia came and shadowed me all day yesterday, and I think I wore out. I think she's really convinced that I work now. But thank you, I enjoyed that. And I missed the county the other day because I had to do a funeral. I need to say that. I came back on Wednesday, so I missed some of you, but I always look forward to seeing you in the office. Got some folk coming next week as well.
I think the biggest concern most of us, based upon your comments last time, represented about us potential for us losing our hospital. And I see all the people sitting there, and so I think that's a real concern to our citizenry. I see our representatives from the hospital, but our community is really concerned about this. So can y'all give us some information? I know that sort of hinges on what the governor's going to do. Is that correct?
Medicaid expansion.
I will say this, first and foremost, whether hospitals are open in rural West Tennessee is not going to hinge on Medicaid expansion. What the hospitals have to have is the people of the county supporting the hospitals, the people of the county who live there going to that hospital. We have this issue in Fayette County. I know we're going to have it here in Hardeman County. We have it in McNairy County. If you're sick, support your local hospital. Go to your local hospital. Drive the 40 minutes to Jackson, you're taking dollars out of the local hospital. So I think that's one thing that is very important for all of us to know.
Well, I'm going to weigh in, and of course, again, in my opening comments, and while I was comical, I really meant that that's a good part of our government and democracy. Everybody have their own opinion and gives opinions about things. But now what I've been hearing, and maybe I've been told the wrong thing, that we could very well lose our community hospital if Medicaid is not expanded because, number one, they got to take care of those sick folks somehow in some way anyway. Plus, we're going to lose the jobs. And I've been trying to weigh this out. We had this discussion this morning in Jackson. And every time I look at this, because we get the first 3 years from the federal government free. Now that some people say we don't like that because the federal government do this and do that, but I think sometimes we put more off on the federal government than what we ought to. I think we have to take some responsibilities ourselves, and I see that we are going to be hurt badly in terms of getting people covered, in terms of losing our local hospital, in terms of emergencies from here to Jackson, because I don't care how you drive, you're talking about 40 minutes from here to Jackson General Hospital. And I ate with the governor last Wednesday night, and this conversation came up. And he said he was in tune to that. He understood that. But that's what I understand now. Representative Rich puts a different spin, and that's okay. But I don't think it's about supporting our hospitals that's going to make it survive. I think it is about Medicaid expansion, in my humble opinion. And if I'm wrong, I'm willing to come back and say, and I'm not trying to scare you all. I'm just telling you what I know about it.
And something needs to discuss, but what is the general gist? What is our lobby arm of West Tennessee Healthcare. What are they saying, Kenny? What?
The way we see it is when the Affordable Care Act came along, we knew we were going to take a decrease in payment for Medicare. But our understanding was that we were going to make up the difference with some of that payment with the expansion of Medicaid, which was going to cover some of the uninsured population that we were taking care of. When the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act, they also said, well, the state had a decision of whether or not they were going to expand the Medicaid road. And if a state decided not to, then that means hospitals were, number one, going to lose the cuts from Medicare. If a state did not accept the money from the federal government, we are also going to lose money from the Medicaid expansion. So, you know, as far as Bolivar General is concerned, we're going to take a $10 million cut from Medicare. And then we stand to lose as much as $3 additional million from Medicaid, which for a small community hospital is devastating. On top of the indigent care population we're already seeing, we're looking at, you know, not being able to operate in the county. So yes, we're looking at taking a double hit.
I think there are many good things that probably happened in the Affordable Care Act, and I think one of the terrible things that happened was taking the money away from the hospitals and cutting the rates. The governor's going to have to make the decision on whether we take Medicaid expansion money or not. That's not left to me. It's not left to Senator Gresham. It's not left to Representative Shaw. This is something that the governor's going to have to make a decision on. We don't know what his decision is going to be. What I will say is I have the unique experience of having been the state trooper that was driving Governor Phil Bredesen when he disenrolled 300,000 people from Medicaid, from our TennCare rules. The reason he did that is because TennCare had expanded so much that it became Pac-Man, literally eating our state dollars alive. We couldn't put money in education, we couldn't put money in criminal justice and corrections and public safety because all of the money was going to TennCare. The income tax battles that happened in 2000, 2001, 2002 were in a large part due to the fact that we could not afford our TennCare system, our Medicaid system, as it was written at that time. And when Governor Bredesen secured TennCare, made it better when he disenrolled the 300,000 people. However terrible the 300,000 disenrollment was, it secured our state, it secured our state's budget, and it kept us away from having an income tax or to raise our tax rates through the roof.
All right, we're denying taking the federal money because we're worried what happened in 3 years. Is that the
Well,
logic?
here's one. Number one, like I said, Mr. Mayor, we're not denying anything. We can't do that. We don't have that authority. This is the governor that makes that decision. If he accepts the Medicaid money, then we have the expansion for 3 years. After that 3 years, depending on the federal government's rules by then, whether we know it or not, or whether they make any changes or not, we will be responsible for at least 10% of it. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of estimates. We don't know the numbers right now for sure, but the estimates I'm getting through the Health Committee are $600 million is what it's going to, additional Tennessee revenues that it's going to take to fund what the federal government wants.
Gentleman had a question here, go ahead.
On this Affordable Care Act, I don't see how in the world the state can afford to do this. We're talking about losing jobs. These businesses are going to have to cut hours, they're going to have to cut workers to get around this unaffordable health care act. If you look at it, all the rules, regulations, and everything that's been added to this 2,700-page bill is over 7 foot tall, and nobody knows exactly what all is in it. I have to go to my doctor, and they have to want to know why I have a handgun in my house. That's none of their business. How in the world, on our government, $16 trillion in the hole, we're injecting $80 billion a month to just keep this economy afloat, and we expect our federal government to reimburse this state on this? It's not going to happen. Our state right now needs to be sovereign and get out and underneath, away from